you done for us all. Spreading the culture all over the world. For all the good thing that you done for, cause that's what it is. We thanking you. We thanking you, brother. Ajan lo moun bisou pa sav ki chale yo pwen wivi esi. Fo nou konet kwaye yo akumas makadas music. Gordon Henderson, Fricks, Roy Williams, yo. Vivian Wallace, Exile, One Group.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Pleasant Wednesday morning here in Dominica. Welcome to the program, Creole Heartbeat. I'm your host here, Amelia Joseph Dennis, alongside me,
Miss Julie Roberts. Good morning. Good morning.
We don't have Roberts here with us to define Julie this morning. But Julie, good morning to you, and we want to welcome, of course, our listeners, the listeners of DBS Radio, those who were tuned in via radio, of course, and on Facebook. Yes, it's all about Cadence Lipso 50th anniversary. We cannot talk enough about that, Julie. As you know, it's nearing the month of in the observance of Cadence Lipso music, and of course the big event to just culminate this whole anniversary celebration.
Yes,
but again, if you are now joining us, welcome to a Creole Heartbeat. Julie, don't be shy today, because
no, I'm not.
You know why? Because we have a very, very big guest here with us today, and as we speak Cadence, and I'm pretty sure most of you can already guess who it is, but in case you do not know, the godfather of Cadence will be joining us here live on Creole Heartbeat. So let's not waste any more time and wish him bonjour, ça qu'a fait.
Ou bien?
Oui, mon bien,
Oui.
mon bien.
Et toi?
Vous êtes bien tous les deux?
Mm-hmm.
Cool alors.
No,
cool.
maybe I should say comme si comme ça, comme si comme ça.
Okay. C'est bon.
Yes.
So how are you, and how is it in your neck of the woods?
Well, I'm good. I'm happy because it's summer. I love summer. I don't hate winter, but I prefer summer.
Prefer the heat. All right.
More for the sunshine than the heat.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
you're
right.
Caribbean
I got
man at
you. I
heart.
got you.
Yeah,
I
you're
got you.
Caribbean man at heart.
But I'll be heading to the Caribbean soon. I have concerts there
All
this
right.
summer.
Nice.
Gordon, a lot of times when people just hear your name, you can already associate you with certain things. So music, for example, Cadence music, more so Exile One, and more so, the vast or the knowledge, I should say, when it comes to Cadence music, and of course we would know why. We know that the observance of Cadence Lipso month is coming up pretty soon, and I'm pretty sure you two have your part to play in that. It might seem like a recurring question, but I still want to ask you that. What does it mean to you that we can take time off to celebrate Cadence?
You're right, it's a recurring question. And sometimes I feel like a broken record. But fortunately, almost after every interview or article, many people still call me and tell me, I didn't know that. So it's always useful to repeat.
Mm-hmm.
Cadence Lipso, the observance of 50 years of Cadence Lipso, to me is formidable from a personal standpoint, because try to imagine that you were fooling around as a youngster and you ended up doing something. It might be a kick, it might be a dish, it might be a musical genre, like in this case, and 50 years later, you are still selling your kick, you're still selling your music. So from a personal standpoint, it makes me happy. I noticed that it coincides with the 50 years of rap music. And I noticed the way that they celebrated it on BET and all that kinds of thing. But in Dominica, I don't think that this generation realizes that we have placed ourselves on the world map, MAP, with something that we created ourselves and we exported across the world. And sometimes when I say across the world, many people don't understand. And probably in our conversation, I'll be able to demonstrate that with proof.
Yeah. Okay, so I hope I didn't cut you off. Okay, so I know the 50th year we're celebrating the achievements and the journey of Kadas Lipso or Kadas music in Dominica or in the world. However, Creole Heartbeat is about teaching the public, and I'm pretty sure there's somebody here who wants to understand the origin, because we have the Godfather here, and we might think everyone knows the story, but we just want a snippet as to why you are the Godfather and how Kadas Lipso came to be 50 years ago.
Well, that title of Godfather was given to me by Wadix. Now, I accepted Godfather much more than legend and icon that some people like to put on my head. Um, Simply because, in Creole, there's an expression, mon papa, wow.
That's right.
Yes, I actually know
You
that
know,
one.
and that's
Babatizeu.
Godfather. So this is, if someone were to call you Joyce, you say, no, I'm not Joyce. I'm a mama papa. Wow. So the Godfather is known traditionally in Dominica as the one who named the child.
Okay.
So the child in this case is Kadas Lipso. I named it so because at the time I was about 23, 24, and I used to say, well, this music is a synthesis. I like to use words that looked rare, or fusion, a marriage of two musical forms, cadence rampa or compas direct from Haiti, and calypso. So we made a hyphenated word, cadence lipso. It could have been compalypso as well, because cadence rampa and compas direct is basically the same. It's just two different names for many reasons that we wouldn't have time to get into. But the reason that I chose cadence lipso is because cadence, pronounced cadence in English, is a cognate, meaning it exists in English and in French / Creole. So why not cadence lipso? So that's the origin of the name.
What
The origin of the music.
No, I was gonna say before you proceed and just talking about the meaning. I was happy, this morning while I was just messing about my phone, just to Google. You can get anything on Google these days. Just to Google cat and sleep so, and I was happy to see that actually there is a definition of cat and sleep so in a dictionary. And it did say
Yeah,
it does say what you say. It says a genre of popular dance music that binds cadence rampa and calypso.
yeah. So that's exactly what it is. And I'm currently shooting a documentary film, not speaking of cadence specifically, but the evolution of Caribbean music from the 70s. And we can boast with proof that this was probably the first successful experiment of fusing genres from different regions to create a new one.
Yes.
Because before, most of the islands were very parochial or um, insular minded. So Trinidad took calypso for themselves. although calypso is a Caribbean thing, and we know that, we know in what year and in what period it went to Trinidad, but Trinidad developed it
It came
and
from
it
Martinique, didn't it?
more than anywhere else because of the strong, the large population of slaves
Yeah.
on the sugarcane. And we cannot boast much of that because we didn't have too much of sugarcane. Neither did Guadeloupe or St. Lucia or any of the islands. And we know exactly when the large number of slaves went to Trinidad, etc., etc. So when Cadence came in the 70s, it began a wave of fusion that went all the way down, because even reggae music, Bob Marley wasn't popular at the time. Bob Marley didn't even have dreadlocks. We'd see him with his little afro and his suit and his tie at the time, and it is really in that period that fusion music started to grow up to today.
All right. I know you've spoken a lot about, the evolution of cadence, and I'm pretty sure that will come up, of course, in one of our panel discussions as we celebrate the month of cadence sleep. So, but some time ago, in an article, you did make mention to the evolution, but what you did say was that in Dominica, if not, you said that the question in Dominica is not that if Cat and Calypso has evolved, but if the people have. And you went on to make reference, for example, Midnight Groover, is that, the folks, those who were nostalgic to the 1970s. So basically, you were saying that they have a long way to go when it comes to change. Are you saying that, like this current generation is not really appreciating the current trend of cadence, and we are more in favor or more appreciative of the cadence of the 70s, 80s?
It's a good thing you brought that up because I think that I was misunderstood. First of all, I don't think that there's any current trend of cadence. As far as I'm concerned, cadence calypso is the music of the 70s. It was succeeded by zouk, by what we like to call bouillon now, but at the time in Guadeloupe, people called it jump up for almost 10 years. They called it jump up music.
It's still jump up music.
Yeah, well, it's basically carnival music. It is
Yes.
carnival music. At first, when I used to tell the guys, the bouillon guys, you should promote this thing as the best carnival music in the world because there's carnival all over the world all year round. In Antigua in July, in
The
St.
first
Lucia
Monday of
in May,
August.
in Brooklyn in September, in Notting Hill, in Toronto, Caribana, etc., etc. And at first they didn't like it. They used to say, well, what does this guy think? He wants to call our music carnival music. And 20, 30, 40 years later, I noticed that they have almost embraced it,
Yes.
particularly when the Trinidadians did a carbon copy of their wonderful carnival music, and they call it soca. The soca that I knew in the 1970s from Shorty, Lord Shorty, who started soca, it doesn't sound like what Marshall, is it?
Yeah,
Montana?
Marshall Montano. And
Yeah, what he does today. What he does with the help sometimes of bouillon producers. And I'm not making up stories, and you know that there's a Dominican producer called Dada Lawrence
we know.
contributed to the number one soca. Well, in fact, it is a bouillon track. But all of that to return to your question, what I was saying. So I said first, to me, there is no current cadence calypso. Calypso is the music of the 70s. The second thing that I said in that article is that Calypso is varied, particularly in tempo. You have very slow Calypso songs. Even the Midnight Groovers, that is noted for the up tempo. And that's why I mentioned the Midnight Groovers. To me, one of my preferred songs of Midnight Groovers is a moderate song. Bring back the milk and honey. It's not bring back no, it's moderate. And there are slow ones. Probably the record that sold the best in Creole music, not only cadence, so far, is a song first recorded by Exile One titled Jamais Voir Ça. It's relatively slow, and it's sold. Google, you just said that Google it's available. They're the first person to do a Portuguese version in Brazil is a gentleman called Carlos Santos, easy to spell, Portuguese singer, and it sold over 3 million copies. And after that, 11 other artists did versions of that song. And I don't like his version, but he's the first one to do it. And the others copied him or covered him to say it correctly. And so what I said with regards to Midnight Groovers is, unfortunately, in Dominica, which is supposed to be the home of Calypso, we have a tendency, but it's a matter of like or don't like it. Some people, I'm a lover of French champagne. But I've met a lot of people from Martinique and Guadeloupe, born French citizens, and there's an inferior type of champagne called mousseux. And people prefer mousseux because it's sweet and so on.
Yes.
So I'm not going to fight with anybody. If in the large array of tempos, people prefer carnival all year round, it's okay. So that's what I'm saying. In Dominica, it's not in the evolution, it's in the choice of the tempos. People have a tendency to prefer the carnivalesque type of calypso, and sometimes even define the entire genre in that way. And I will end that by saying the reason that doesn't make me happy, it's because it's very personal. If you were to take a subjective look at it, I am not a person who loves, in terms of music, who would love only carnival music all year round. People love it. They like carnival, okay. But I think that music is something that should be used for mourning. You know that? We have songs for mourning. We have songs for romance. Two lovely ladies. I mean, if you have carnival music for romance, well, that's your choice. There should be music for carnival. So that's my stand on the matter.
Millie, I had a question, but now that Mr. Henderson said that, I think I have enough. Is that okay? I can go ahead?
Yeah.
I don't want to mess up your lineup of questions. So, Mr. Henderson, with most genres, there are variations. And I just want to get you correct. I want to be sure that's what you said, so you're not misunderstood again on the topic. But with most genres, there are variation. So we can even go back to soca. You used soca earlier. We have jumpy soca, we have groovy soca. And maybe that's why Marshall Montano can bring somebody from Dominica and infuse the song with bouillon, and it's still accepted as soca, because soca has they've been doing variations for a long time. We want variety with soca. We want the soca where, as you said, we can stand with our partner and we can groove and move. Then we want the soca like what Bungie does, that we can run all over the place and be tired. And then you want somebody like Kes that brings the in between. So there is variations. There are different variations when it comes to soca. With Kadas, are you saying that there are different variations of Calypso or Kadas that is not what you envision or what you will define as Kadas?
No, 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 I'm not saying that at all. I am saying that well, I agree with you that there are many variations. Okay, we agree so far. Okay, what I am saying is among the multiple variations, and you mentioned a few variations of soca that to me they're not really variations because when soca got tired and started looking around for something to help it, they start talking about groovy. But groovy is a word, when I was a child, do you know where the word groovy comes from? It comes from the period of vinyl records. You know those LPs that you would break. You know what I mean by a vinyl record? A record, 45s. You know cassettes.
Yes, there's the record
You
and
know
there's the cassette.
CDs.
We
Yes.
know record. We may not have lived it, but we know it.
I lived it. I was
No,
happy to live
but you
it.
don't have to live it. They exist.
They
As a matter
exist.
of fact, in
Yes.
the industry, it is the fastest growing format today and probably for the last 4 or 5 years. So the word groovy came when vinyl records came long before you won the grooves. You see the needle. So they used to say you're groovy, and it became part of language. So when a Trinidadian who seemingly doesn't know the etymology of the word comes up now and talk about this groovy, you're groovy. Elvis Presley was groovy. So, but let's forget soca. Calypso is much more diverse in terms of variations than soca or reggae, for the simple reason that we as Dominicans, and that is why we were able to do it, we have two cultures, so to speak. We have an Anglophone and English speaking culture, and we have a Creole culture, linguistically and musically. So this gives us a wider scope. Another thing is when Calypso was founded, I don't like to say the word created because it makes me feel like
God.
you're creator. We didn't create anything. We experimented. But when it started, it was not in the period of modern technology. So there were no computers. So if you notice that there were few, if not no solo artists. You may think of Ophelia, but Ophelia came 10 years after. Okay? It was a period of bands. So it was not a computer. Even if you may not be a musical
Scholar.
programmer or anything, but you can understand creating music on a computer is like writing text messages on your phone. You write it and you can throw it into GPT, AI, artificial intelligence, and it will switch it around and so on. So it's somewhat like that. In the days of the beginning of Calypso, it was all about bands. We know that Dominica had at least 33 bands that went to Guadeloupe and Martinique at the time to do recordings, and many of them made many recordings. So this is why the variations are so remarkable, because it is not a computer program. It's not music based on computer programming. It is all about human beings with their levels of expression, with their levels of knowledge, etc., etc. So you'll notice that in Dominica's Cadaslypso, there are some bands that are more rural, some that are a little bit more urban, and some that are a little bit more
City.
international. And I use the word international carefully, because some people think that international is the opposite of national or local. Even the word local, sometimes some people think local is inferior because they might think it's LOW, cul. It's low, and people talk about international, but international is the connection of nation, international. So it's not the opposite of local. Something that is local can be international. I
What
hope
is
I'm clear.
so? What is you've had
Go ahead, go
something?
ahead.
So what is the identifying thing that makes a song Kadas?
Okay. The identifying feature is, remember, it is a fusion of basically Caribbean Anglo music, calypso. So if you know calypso, and you know Creole music, particularly Creole music from Haiti, because at the time that was the dominant dance music of the time. So I like to make reference and make a comparison with a cake. If I don't know if that exists, but if there is a chocolate guava cake that becomes a staple, if you don't know chocolate and you don't know guava, or you know only one, when you taste the chocolate guava cake, then you might say, okay, I like it or I don't like it, but you wouldn't be able to say that is it,
That is it.
because I identify the two defining factors that contribute to what the thing is. So that is what Kadaslipso is, and people need to know.
Yes.
When you spoke of the bands of the 70s, of course, and you would have listened to a lot of their music. Many of that was as what calypso would be in its own sense, commentary. But you would have found that the cadence of the 70s would have been penned based on experiences, especially in the 70s, reference to slavery, social life and all of that. You don't really get the new versions of cadence to express these types of
Storytelling.
storytelling. Again, I make mention of the evolution of cadence. So how do you see the current lyrics in this? You don't want to talk about current, but here we go again. But in the cadence now that is being created, how do you rate the lyrics?
Well, whatever I hear as today's cadence, I don't know how to analyze it, because it looks like a replica of what was done in the 70s. Let's take, for example, your theme song. Beautiful song. I love it. It's not because he calls my name among others, but I love the way that he sounds like chubby, but not a carbon copy. You can see he has his influence and he is. Right? I like his rhythm, which is not exactly the Midnight Groovers. It looks like something, but it's still a replica of the 1970s. And to better understand what I mean by that, you don't have to be old. You just need to take a few minutes and do a little research. The most popular form of Caribbean music that has been popular for a long time all over the world is Jamaican,
Reggae, yeah.
Jamaican music. And you will notice when we speak of evolution, if you listen to the ska music or the rock steady of the 60s, you will notice the change you, when it became reggae. And then that went on for about a decade or a little more. And then Jimmy Cliff exploded. He took Bob Marley to the studio. Bob Marley exploded even more. But despite that explosion, reggae evolved. So it went into dance hall and whatever. And then some Hispanic people took it and added a little Creole. But now it's not a master class. So I cannot demonstrate to you how the Creole element came and they started calling it reggaeton or reggaeton or whatever they call it. So this is what I consider as evolution. And usually that happens every 10 years or so. Something comes new. In the case of Calypso, it has stagnated. Even if we have new records, as a matter of fact, that is probably one of the points that I tried to draw in the article that you referred to a while ago. That stagnation, people seem to love it. People think, as a matter of fact, I had to be almost arguing with some educated people when they used to tell me things like, they used to tell me things like the authentic cadence. And what they meant by authentic cadence is the cadence calypso that they grew up with in the 1970s. And they refused to accept any changes because to them, if you change it, then you will be interfering with the authenticity of the genre. And that, from an intellectual standpoint, is ridiculous. It's like as if our society is a stagnant one, and we openly, overtly
Accept it.
neglect evolution or progress in the name of what we claim to be authenticity.
All right. So, in other words, I think that you as the godfather yourself, you'd want to see a grand godson. Is that a thing? Is that even a thing? You'd like to see colors evolve from what you're saying.
No, I do not want to see cadence evolve. If cadence evolves, I'd be happy, because I'll explain what I mean by that. If today someone writes and records a song with a cadence feel, or even one that is from the 70s, the glory days of cadence, and it becomes a hit, I'll be very, very happy. But I am not expecting that to happen. If it happens, I'll be happy. I think that calypso is not traditional music. I hope I I am clear when I say that. Calypso is not traditional music, am I? Are you there?
Yes,
Yes,
we
yes,
are.
yes. I'm
Yes, yes.
understanding you. Yes.
But do you understand when I say that calypso is not traditional music?
Like you
So
said. Like,
it's not ballet or
Mm-hmm.
quadrille
mm-hmm.
or croca of Guadeloupe or any of it.
Mm-hmm.
It is contemporary music, but it is the music of the 70s. And between the 1970 and 2023, 50 years after, I do not expect it to be on the hit parade unless there is somewhat of a freak happening.
It can't be a freak accident.
Yeah, because there is no society of modern times where music, let's take the United States where we know very well because we're bombarded with American. Rock music started with black people. After that, because of the racial problems in the United States, they got a white one to play black. A lot of people don't know that, but there are many, many documentaries on YouTube, on Netflix, where people can learn about Elvis Presley. When I grew up, to me, Elvis Presley was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. I didn't know that all his whining on stage was imitating black people like Little Richard. Okay?
Yeah.
And rock music lasted for 10 to 15 years, and then it evolved and started getting other names into it, rock and metal rock and this rock. And so rock music of Elvis Presley or Little Richard doesn't sound like rock music of today. Closer to home, we gave the example of Jamaica. When they started with their mento, mento is the name of what we may call Jamaican calypso. And then they started mixing it with American music. As a matter of fact, they brought down a lot of American producers to Americanize their mento. Bob Marley did a lot of covers with the assistance of some of these producers. And then it moved, we said that, rocksteady to ska, to reggae, to dancehall, and so. The same thing happened with calypso. You don't have to be old to know Sparrow. You should know Sparrow as a Caribbean person. But the calypso of Sparrow and the calypso of Dice, if you listen to it musically, it is not the same. It has evolved. Calypso started in 1973. It did not evolve because if someone does a replica of the 70s, it's just as if someone would be doing a replica of Sparrow today. You can do
Yes.
it. I mean, Sparrow used to sing about Dean and Dinah, Rosita and Clementina. You can make a new one, yeah, with the same style, and you replace that with technically with other things, and you sing about mangoes, and you say mango long and mangolica, mango. But
But I don't hear
anybody will
Julie
sing
Mango
on the
there.
style of the melody and everything that you're singing an old time calypso. So, calypso, in my mind, should remain as the cornerstone of Dominican modern music, and I dare say of Caribbean modern music, not traditional.
Okay.
And that's how I say it. But that doesn't mean that somebody cannot make a hit with the 1970s style. If it happens, that will be great.
Okay, so speaking of stagnancy, a lot of people who adore Kadas Lipso today, they had the experience to live through the 70s when Kadas was a thing. Now we say that, even the whole Kadas Lipso festival is to bring awareness to the young people who doesn't know anything about Kadas and try to just keep the genre alive. We keep having to say we want to keep the genre alive. However, do you feel, or is it your considered opinion that the stagnancy between those years where Kadas was like so great and now, like I don't know when the last really good Kadas song came out, do you think that really is why the status quo is this way? And if so, if we now bring Kadas Lipso back to the forefront, do you feel like this generation, our 10-year-olds who actually just had the Kadas competition and going forward, if we keep doing that, do you feel like maybe for the 100th year, we will have a strong Kadas Lipso presence or a strong Kadas presence?
That's not exactly how I see it. But just to make reference to something that you said, to me, the last big hit, Calypso hit, was outside of the 70s. It might be even in the, how you say it, the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
It's a song titled Parabole by Halibut. I can remember coming to Dominica, and this song was all over the place in buses and things. Don't, one of you must remember Parabole.
Bonnie
Must be Milia.
Bocose.
Yeah, that wasn't in it's a Calypso song, but
Yes.
it was not in the Calypso heyday. That was probably in the late 1900s.
That was
But
2000s
2000.
maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
But the
but
thing is, we
yeah,
have we have a Booyah song every year. We have multiple Booyah songs every year. So there's still a
so
stagnancy there.
this brings me to the second part of what
Mm-hmm.
you're saying. I just made reference to that the last, to me, big goddess song was not in the 70s. Okay? Now the second part of the thing is I said, to me, Kadas is the music of the 70s. And it should get the place that samba music, and you don't have to be old, irrespective of your age, from your musical culture, it is your responsibility to know what is samba music of Brazil, even as a black person. Now, samba music, you will not hear it in the clubs. It is not the Brazilian bouillon of the time, but it is there. It is played at particular times, such as Carnival. It is the foundation of the modern musical culture of Brazil. And that is what I see Cadacipso as being. If Halibut can bring us another hit today, I will applaud it. Or somebody else. Maybe it might be White Fairy, somebody else. But I don't think that there is a Cadacipso movement. And I know that because I tour, besides the interruption from COVID, I am always on tour in the Creole world. Always on tour in the Creole world, in major festivals, sometimes in more intimate events. But I don't see any other Calypso artist. When Jeff Joe was alive, we sometimes even did gigs together. Um, People mention a lot of Ophelia, and Ophelia is doing first her
Tour.
first tour to the Indian Ocean,
Mm-hmm.
to the island of Reunion this year. in this coming month. And this is a strong indicator that Calypso is not bouillon. Calypso is music of the 70s. And in the Indian Ocean, people love Calypso for whatever reason, and they have never stopped loving it. So much so that one Dominican Calypso artist moved to Reunion Island and has probably over the last 12 years or so, if not more, and that's where he lives. You know, so Calypso is the music of the 70s. However, it is the cornerstone of modern Dominican and Caribbean music, and it should be hailed as such. The same way that samba is embraced by Brazilians, and they will embrace it for centuries to come.
All right. Well, Godfather, that was quite an insight here into Carols Calypso. We can never have enough information again if we want to continue in the preservation of this genre of music. We need the education. We need the smarts and the sagesse of the likes of Gordon Henderson himself. So let me just thank you so much for joining us here on Creole Heartbeat on this beautiful Wednesday. I for one, want to tap into your brain a little more, but I would like to do that more on a face-to-face basis. We'll have to leave that virtual thing for some other time. But whenever you get here, which I'm sure you will pretty soon, I would like to tickle your brain some more.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for being here. I love giving flowers while you're still alive and you can reach out and take it, and not when you're gone and it can only be laid on the chest. So thank you so much for being around in a time where we want to educate the public and also to revitalize the music, which is the cornerstone of Caribbean music. Have a pleasant day, and thank you for being here with us today.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you so much. Cheers, huh? Cheers. Oh, yeah, here we go.
I was wondering what was in that cup.
50 years, we'll celebrate in 50 years.
Yes.
All
So
right.
I hope we have some of that golden champagne that you love when you get down here.
Moe. Is it Moe? Is it Moe?
Oh, you love Moet?
Oh,
Moet, yes.
yes, I do.
Okay, I will make every effort so we can have a bottle. Just 3 of us.
We will appreciate that.
Have a great day.
All right.
Wadix doesn't drink.
He will drink water.
We'll do it on his behalf.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, have a good one.
Thanks a lot for everything.
Okay.
All right, and that was the godfather of Carols Calypso here, Gordon Henderson, as we continue, just to inform and educate our beautiful listeners here when it comes to the best genre of music in Dominica, Carols. You said something a while ago. I'm not even going to take any second to correct you, Julie. You feel okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I feel like we need to go big up our Facebook viewers.
Yeah,
I know we go read some
yes,
comments.
yes,
And
yes.
I don't even want to know what is it you want to tell me. I don't even want. What did I say?
No, I'm not going to.
Okay, we have someone on the Facebook. By the way, good morning to everyone on the Facebook page. We appreciate that you can join us there. So not only just on DBS Radio Land, but also on Facebook Live. We have Sandra Norris saying good morning or hello, Mr. Gordon. We have Sandra Norris again saying good morning, Dominica people. Desi Henderson, everybody's saying they're watching from Philadelphia. Carrie Roberts saying hail from Antigua and keep doing great work, Julia. Oh, thank you. I love when my Antiguan people tap into Dominica stuff here with me. Greetings, hosts and guests. Always rich impartation listening to Gordon. Congrats. Someone say bonjour, Gordon. Gordon left already. Albert saying real talk. Sandra saying I agree. Someone else saying DJs and journalists could do a lot to keep the music alive. And finally, Sandra Norris saying, great information, Gordon. Thank you for all of you who interacted with us here on Facebook today. And Amelia, we have something great to inform
Yes,
the
we
people.
just want to, keep the information out there just to inform our listeners that the big event in search of a Caribbean voice right here in Dominica, we have this big song competition. Of course, it's a voice challenge that's coming up on July 15th. That's just a little, maybe a day or so over 2 weeks. And we are still in search of the talent. We know we're talking music, so we know Dominica have a lot of talent in music musician or singers, more so singers. You don't have to be a musician to sing. So we know Dominica have a lot of talented singers, people who can sing, and who just want the opportunity to showcase themselves. And again, get an opportunity to even represent Dominica. So we have the Richest Karayib Voices Challenge. That's a song competition carried for July 15th. We're just calling on you. If you listen to the sound of my voice, you know you can sing. We are just asking you to register and take part in this beautiful competition. It's going to expose you, put you on a level that you never expected or you haven't even imagined, because you will get the opportunity not only to just represent Dominica, but you'll get to work with people, renowned folks in the music industry. When you get to Martinique. So there is a lot for you. All you have to do is just record a nice little demo with yourself singing something original. The original piece does not have to be written by you, but it has to be original. So you could get anybody who can write music, just do your little piece, sing it up, video, tape it, yeah, and then you have to upload it on the Karayib.com site.
www.richeskarayib.
Riches Karayib. Let me just, in case you need to know how Riches Karayib is spelled.
It's spelled Riches,
It's
Riches, Kara.
Are you correct?
YIB, yeah.
YIB. All right. .com. So just go. You could also go on the various media.
Yes.
So you can
We have
get
it on Creole Heartbeat
Creole
page.
Heartbeat page. Yes.
And
so you could get that information
right
and
there.
make sure that you can upload your
Video.
Your video.
And remember, as we've said before, it can be an informal video as long as it's quiet and you can be heard. So even if it's in your favorite place, in the car, in the washroom, we just want to hear your voice
just
so
wanna
that
hear
you
your
can
voice.
be accepted
You will-
as a finalist.
Right.
for the
You are not
competition.
being judged. That's how you're going to get
Yes.
selected. So need to understand that as well. The video is not just you're not going to be judged. We just want to see who you are, and of course we want to hear your voice. And of course a panel of judges will select at the top, and we will meet with you
For the live
for the
shows.
live shows, and of
Yes.
course give you everything that is necessary to prepare you for the live show, which is carried for July 15th.
Yes.
So we've run out of time. on
But
Creole
one
Heartbeat.
thing that we didn't say, you need to be between the ages of
18
and
30. You
35.
need to be a youth.
You need to be my age.
You need to be. You keep saying that. I'm not even sure why.
Because I am a youth.
All
Anyway, so we're gonna play the ad for you, and are we gonna end the show here today?
Yes.
That's all we're giving the people today. That was a lot of information, you
A
know.
lot of information, but that's what it is. It's all about Creole Heartbeat. So keep it locked to the nation station. DBS Radio. It was a pleasure, of course, hosting Creole Heartbeat today alongside me, Miss
Julie
Julie
Roberts.
Mango. Oh,
Au
you forget the
revoir.
mango. Have a good one.
Tout moun, vinitansa. Ou se yo domi cheki kashate? This one is for you. Riches Karayib presents Dominica Song Challenge. We utansa, it's a song challenge. Participants must be between the ages of 18 and 35. The song must be an original composition of any genre. The winner will be flown to Martinique to be a part of a music festival and workshop. Their song will also be featured on an album showcasing the winners from all the other Caribbean islands. Also, lots of prizes to be won. For video submission, head over to www.richeskarayib.com. Submit today. Dominique Nuka Shate. Celebrate Caribbean talent and culture on July 15th, 2023, alias Frances, when the Riches Karayib Caravan stops in Dominica. Hear Dominican contestants in the Riches Karayib Voices Challenge. Experience an amazing showcase of different genres of Dominican music, art from Martinique, Trinidad, Guadeloupe, Barbados, and of course, Dominica. This event is co-funded by Interreg Karayib Program through the European Regional Economic Development Fund, led by Assis West Indies, OMDAC, Skimac, in partnership with Sakai Malad, Trace, and Air Antilles. It is the Riches Karayib Voices and Dominican Music Showcase, July 15th, 2023 at Alias Frances. It's free.